Hey Gameheads! As a mobile exclusive gamer, the thought of missing out on a good game because the game isn't on mobile is a daunting experience. Trust me, it's all I ever think about. Even though official ports to mobile have been growing, a lot of amazing games still haven't made that jump, and that's where the community steps in, talking about homebrew ports, fan-made versions created by people who just couldn't wait any longer. The crazy part, many of these ports are done so well, you would think they were official releases. Before we begin, there's a quick shout out to @HeyDemeswar3379 for suggesting this video. Like I've said countless times, drop your video ideas in the comment section if it's interesting. It might just make the list. And just a heads up, these are all Android only games since we can sideload games and iOS can't. Tough luck for those people. Let's dive right in, shall we? First off, we have one of Valve's most iconic titles, Portal 2007, a true masterpiece that shocked the world when it first released, set in the Half-Life universe. You're solving mind-bending puzzles using portals, a mechanic that was considered an engineering marvel of its time and earned countless praise. And come on, it's Valve. That alone tells you the level of quality you are to be expecting. If you have been in the gaming space for a while, you've definitely heard of Portal. Now imagine that experience on mobile with surprisingly smooth controls that may not be the best but make you feel right at home. And just like every other game on this list, this one is available on Android, and I'll drop the link in the description. Next up, we've got 2024's breakout horror roguelike, Buckshot Roulette. I'm honestly surprised it's already made its way to mobile because these fans are rolling out ports really fast. In this game, you are playing Russian roulette, but with a twist. A 12-gauge shotgun of a twist. Yep, it is as brutal as it sounds. You've got a mix of live rounds and blanks, and every turn is literally a gamble. You can fire at your opponent or risk pulling the trigger on yourself. But it's not just for shock value, however. Buckshot Roulette is wrapped in a dark, mysterious atmosphere that gives it a psychological edge, hence the horror tag. The tension, the setting, the unknown, it all keeps you at the edge of your seat the entire time. The best part, the controls work considerably well on mobile since the game was already mouse heavy. Touch input feel quite natural and intuitive. I will have the link in the description, so if you're into those type of games, you should definitely check it out. Next up is Slime Rancher, the 2016 hit from Monomi Park. This one flipped the usual farming sim on its head. You're not growing crops, you are raising slimes, and that gives it a whole unique identity. On this faraway planet, you find all sorts of colorful slimes, each with their own quirks and abilities. You can capture them and farm them for plots, basically slime jelly, that you can sell back to Earth. It's quirky, it's cozy, and it's way more addictive than it looks. The game plays from a first-person perspective, which makes ranching feel more immersive. And even though this version is an unofficial port, it looks surprisingly good. Controls are decent, but if you don't like touch setup, I believe it also has controller support, so console heads are covered as well. Now, let's talk about Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, the definitive version of the very classic platformer. Quick warning before we get into this port is controller only, no touch controls here, so if you don't have a controller, you won't be able to play it, so keep that in mind. For those unfamiliar, Shovel Knight is a 2014 action platformer where you play as, well, a knight with a shovel on a quest to rescue Shield Knight from an evil sorceress and her crew. The gameplay is all about tight platforming, battling enemies, and pogo jumping off their heads with your trusty shovel. It was heavily inspired by classic Nintendo era platforming, which is why it blew up in the first place, and this Treasure Trove edition brings together the full package, all the DLCs, all the content, all in one. Again, it's available on Android, but remember, controller is a must. Link will be in the description. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is fully playable on Android. Yeah, I didn't believe it either, so I actually downloaded it myself to test before saying anything. And guess what? It runs beautifully with responsive controls, and yes, it also supports controller if you rather avoid a messy touchy setup. Now, this is wild because for the longest time, the only way to play Ocarina of Time was through either complicated emulators or kind of semi-sophisticated launchers. But here, it's just a simple APK installed and it works way better than you would expect. And honestly, do I need to explain what Ocarina of Time is? Is the Zelda classic. If you don't know what this game is, maybe this video isn't for you. And that brings me to the creme de la creme, the one I'm most shocked to actually see running on mobile, kind of the inspiration for this list, a game that I looked for a few months back and didn't find anything on it, but now it has a brand new APK port. I'm talking about none other than the incredible indie zombie survival game, Project Zombiod. You play as a survivor in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and the goal isn't to quote-unquote win, it's simply to see how long you can go before your inevitable death. And trust me, you will die in a variety of ways. What makes Zombiod stand out is its huge open world, the insane amount of detail and decision you can make, the multiple outcomes, and the hardcore survival nature that keeps you quite hooked. It's immersive, it's brutal, and it's finally here on Android. And best of all, you don't need to mess around with any convoluted setup, just download an APK and you're good to go. Next up is the really fascinating title, Crosscode. I've talked about this one a while back and now it's here. I played it on PC myself and trust me, it's a very good game. You play as a character trapped in a simulation that kind of blurs into real life, waking up as an avatar after she or he loses his memory while playing the game. Yeah, it's a very confusing game to explain without spoiling too much of the entire world, but what you need to know is that you are inside an MMORPG, but the MMORPG is on a different planet where the NPCs are actually real people with deep mechanics, a rich story, and a plot full of twists about identity, loss, and discovery. It's beautiful, well crafted, and honestly one of the most underrated RPGs I've played. I didn't even get to finish my first playthrough because I kind of lost the data on that, but now it's on mobile and I'm talking about it. I'm feeling the need to dive right back in. The controls may not be as smooth as an Xbox controller, but it works well enough for you to actually play the game all through. Next up we have Rain World. Honestly, this is one of those games I always hoped would come to mobile. In fact, I made a video on that, so go check it out. And while it's unofficial, it works surprisingly well. In fact, there are two versions, Rain World and Rain World Downpour. Downpour's controls are a little clunky, but the original Rain World runs beautifully with a very clean interface and equally smooth performance. Now, for those who don't know what Rain World is, it is one of the most complex ecosystems ever designed in gaming, where you play as a small strange creature trying to survive in a world where rain is deadly and constant. Every animal has its own unique behavior and movement patterns, and the ecosystem exists independently of you. It's a living, breathing world that is perfectly simulated, that feels both brutal and beautiful. I actually learned a lot about the game through a deep dive video, that's one of the best videos I've ever watched, by the way, and I've appreciated the game ever since. Even though I haven't played it myself, I trust it, and I think it is worth checking out as well. Now let's wrap up two iconic titles into one spot by one developer, Undertale and Deltarune, both from the incredible Toby Fox, the developer who completely shook the indie RPG scene a few years back. Undertale is legendary, an RPG masterpiece some might say, with branching endings, quirky yet clever combat mechanics, and that mix of strange humor, wackiness, and deep mystery. It's the kind of game that people were praising long before I even got into gaming quite seriously. Then came Deltarune, which takes that formula and leans even harder into the RPG side of things, with bigger battles, richer storylines, and a chapter-based structure. And for some reason the devs haven't taken mobile seriously, but that doesn't speak for the Undertale and Deltarune community, which is both massive and insanely talented. Thanks to them, every release, every sequel, every chapter is available on Android. Links, as usual, will be in the description. Before we dive into our number 1 pick, I've got to talk about Cuphead. Yes, Cuphead does have a mobile port. I almost left it out of this list. Cuphead is just Cuphead, a legendary run-and-gun platformer where you are fighting to save your brother from the devil himself. It's a modern classic through and through, the old school cartoon art, the brutal difficulty. The fact that you can actually pull this off on a touchscreen means that you are built different. And that brings us to our final game. Hollow Knight's Silk Song has been shaking up the entire gaming space as of late. I've been playing it for a while and you obviously know. And there is even a rumored unofficial port on its way, but let's focus on the original masterpiece from Team Cherry, a game that redefined modern Metroidvania with its massive interconnected world, silky smooth combat and haunting atmosphere with very simplistic yet addictive looking combat. And the unofficial mobile version is no joke either. I've seen players actually take on the path of pain on their phone, and my own brother finished the game with mobile controls. That's wild, considering that Hollow Knight is one of the most control intensive games out there. Hollow Knight is available on Android through an unofficial port, and that does it for today's list on homebrew unofficial ports on mobile. We covered a lot of legendary classics, but I want to know, which unofficial ports have you played? Drop into the comment section. Did I mention any interesting game that you might like? Let me know in the comment section. And as always, don't forget our goal, 20,000 subscribers before the end of this year. Subscribe, like and share this video. It's your host Bidok. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one. I'm out too.